Yo, what's going on, everybody? Devin here. Got a special guest with us today. We got the one, the only, Chelsea Rafferty. Me and Chelsea go way back. We actually got the great privilege to work together as RAs at Nichols College, Bison Pride. So today, why don't we just start out first by saying, tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell the people of the world who you are, what you're doing, where you're at, what you like, what you don't like.
Okay.
Start there.
Great. I'm a couple years older than Devin. I am a high school English teacher in a public school outside of Boston. Currently in the process of buying a house. Pretty exciting at this point. I like pepperoni pizza with extra cheese.
Love it.
And I
Love it. Instant love. The bar is set.
And I dislike math. So that's all I got.
Is that common amongst other English teachers?
Oh,
that,
hating math? Yes.
Is that so? From a teacher's perspective, what do you love about teaching? What got you into teaching? That's a good first question. What do you love about teaching? What is it?
What do I love or what got me into it?
Both.
Okay.
Let's start with what got you into it, and now what do you love?
Okay. What got me into it? There's a couple reasons. So I come from a family of teachers. My mom was a teacher, my aunt, my cousin, both of my grandmothers. So it's always been a field I've respected quite a bit. And school was something that always sort of came easy to me.
Yeah.
It's really essentially just doing what you're told and following the rules. It's nothing too crazy. So I enjoyed it. I liked the connections I made with my teachers, but it wasn't until high school I was tutoring one of my teammates who, if she didn't get her grade up, she was going to get kicked off the team because her grade wasn't high enough. And I got to have that moment that I was trying to help her understand something and it clicked. And I had this rush of satisfaction in watching that click in someone's mind and having them understand it and be excited. And so I always loved that. I never knew I knew I wanted to teach high school when I got to high school. Elementary school for me was not great. It wasn't my thing.
Well, who genuinely, aside from kickball and maybe 4-square or 2-square, really loved? Well, I mean,
it depends on the elementary school you go to. I went to a very strict Catholic school.
Dress code?
Oh yeah. I had to wear a green plaid jumper, K to 5, that came past your knees, and I had to wear a blouse where the collar was a rounded collar, and then I had to wear a crossed tie. And I went like this.
Oh.
And I had to wear knee-high navy blue socks and navy blue dress shoes. And
murder.
In 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, it was the same style, a green plaid style, but it was a skirt, and you wore a sweater vest instead, because once you go through puberty, those jumpers aren't good anymore.
Bye, jumpers. You're not holding it together anymore.
You can't hold the girls in.
Oh no.
So once I got to high school, I was like, this is awesome. You actually can have an adult conversation with your teachers. This is great. And then I always loved reading, and I loved history. Math and science were never my thing.
Right.
And so it was between English and history, and I really sat and thought about it and realized that I don't like anything except World War II. That's really what I'm passionate about.
That's good stuff.
A lot of the earlier stuff I don't it never interested me as much. And I was like, well, that's going to be a problem because they're going to tell me whatever I'm going to teach, and that's it. Yeah. So that's how I kind of got into it. My favorite thing about teaching, honestly, is building the personal relationships with the kids.
I feel like it would be such a rewarding career.
It is. Watching them grow. You don't get those moments that very often when you get a real thank you or how much you've changed them. Right. I got an email from a former student, 2 weeks ago. He's now a freshman in college. And basically saying I never realized how much you impacted me until now, and I'm just thanking you for it. Right. And that thank you is so awesome and so rare. But it's the personal relationships with the kids because they are funny. It's great to see them grow and just be around them during a cool time in someone's life.
Gotta ask, because I always had this thought as a student.
Sure.
Do teachers truly have their favorite student? Do you have a favorite student, or do you do you, like, because, like, I don't know, maybe other teachers can relate, but, like, I feel like there's at least one or two, maybe more favorites that you, like, attach yourself to, or no?
I think it depends. That's a tough one. I think it depends on the person. I know colleagues and I'm like, oh yeah, you definitely have favorites. And I know colleagues that don't. For myself, I don't. I have students that I connect with more than others just because of personality and buy-in. Like,
Yeah.
if you're someone who won't speak to me and doesn't want to engage, that's hard to build that
Right.
relationship. So I favor that relationship, but I don't pick favorites. So
Good.
if I like one
Good
kid
philosophy,
better, like
yeah.
it's the same. If I have a better relationship with one kid, and one's quieter or doesn't really want anything to do with me, and they both do the same thing, like forget homework or whatever, they're both gonna get the same response that they would. Like,
Right.
So I don't pick favorites. I don't pick favorites.
It happens.
But I have my student every year that, like, there's usually like a top one that we connected really well.
Mm-hmm. We
had fun. They're a really good kid. And I think it's more about the way that they treat other people that I appreciate. But my first year, my first full year teaching job, I was teaching 10th grade, and there were 3 sophomore boys that were really good friends. And I'm not going to use names, but one of them was, like, if I had to pick a number one kid that year, one of them was my number one kid for that year. And still is arguably one of the best ones I've ever had.
Go you. Whoever you are, go you.
But I had 3 of them. They're all 3 best friends. And I liked the other 2. The other 2 were great. Great personalities. We connected very well. The 3 of them would argue over who was my favorite. Argue every day. They'd walk by. They're like, I'm the favorite. No, I'm the favorite. And my response is, I don't have favorites. I love you all. I love you all the same. Which is true. I do love them all the same. Yeah. But like in any relationship, there's someone that you just connect with better.
Better, right.
You vibe with better. You appreciate who they are. Or you appreciate how they interact with people and treat people. Yeah. So there's that. And
even at a young age, like, I feel like high school kids are just, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
They get it. Some kids just got what they call the stuff.
They do, yeah.
The what is that word? Charisma, or like they've got
the whole package.
Yeah.
And I have kids that will come into my room and vent their feelings about something outside of school, and so it's hard to not have a special place in your heart for those kids that are going the extra step to make that connection stronger.
Another question for you.
Yeah.
Now we've talked about the good. What's the toughest part of being a teacher? In the most appropriate answer, what is the biggest challenge as a teacher that you face on the day in the day out? Waking up at 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock.
I wake up at 4:30.
Waking up at 4:30 would be the biggest one right there.
I commute like almost an hour. No, that doesn't bother me. I'm in bed at 9 like a grandma.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And I can't get any closer to where I work because the housing outside of Boston is insane.
Yeah.
I can't get any closer than like 35 minutes, but that's without traffic.
Wow.
My new house will get me to about 28 without traffic. That's why I leave so early. I miss the traffic altogether. So, but on the way home, it's about a 45-minute to an hour drive. What's the worst part?
Toughest.
Oh, toughest.
Toughest.
I think...
It's a good question.
It is a good question. And like my instinct went to say grading, because the grading sucks, and the kids always, the response to that is the kids are like, then don't assign it.
Parents?
Parents can be tough, but I don't mind. Like, I can handle the parents. I think the hardest thing, and there's nothing you can change about this, is when you have a student that's struggling with something, whether it be
outside
personal. Yeah, I think the toughest thing to deal with is the fact that you don't go home with them. Yeah. You can't fix their life at home. Right. You only see them for an hour a day. An hour in their day of an 8-hour day that they see multiple people and they're doing multiple things and dealing with X, Y, Z. And I think the toughest thing is that you can't go home with them. You can't. No, yeah. You can't do anything. You gotta leave it. You only have an hour. That's it. And, maybe if you coach or do a club, you get some extra time. But I remember when I did my student teaching, which is like an internship essentially in college, that you're working towards getting your license. and if you do everything well, you have your license at the end. I had a student who, most of the teachers, I don't like this, but some teachers will warn you about kids, and I don't think that's fair. So I was warned about this girl, and she used to walk around school saying, like, F this place is the worst,
Right.
like, had a chip on her shoulder, always would get in trouble, and then she was in my journalism class, and the teacher I was paired up with that I was learning from, she liked both of us and never gave us problems. And so I thought that was interesting. So I tried to build on our relationship. It was a journalism class. She was really good at journalism. So she was having a bad day. I was trying to like pull her back to do some good work. And she essentially tells me that she should be a 10th grader, but she repeated 9th grade because she only went to school for 40 days last year. Wow. Which like you legally cannot go to the next year.
That's tough.
So I was like, how does one only go to school for 40? Okay. And then I find out that she had an older, I don't know if brother or sister, an older sibling who had a baby, and their spouse decided that they didn't want to take care of the baby, and then their sibling went to jail. Oh. So she was a 14-year-old girl with her 87-year-old grandmother taking care of a newborn. And
that's tough.
For me, I was like, no wonder you don't like this place. You don't want to be here because like you've been living the real world, and this is a waste of time for you.
Right.
And like that broke my heart because like I can't fix that situation. No. I can't do anything about it other than, give her some encouragement and have a safe space for her to be able to talk about those things. But other than that, like I can't do anything about it. It stinks. So that's probably.
I'm gutted just thinking about that. That hurts.
Yeah.
That's like you just have to like when it leaves your zone. It's out. It's gone.
Right. And they have those movies about those teachers that like save them all.
What's the Robin Williams movie?
Oh.
Poetry. What is that?
Dead Poet Society.
Dead Poet Society.
Dead Poet Society. That one's a good one. The ending. I used to teach another different journalism class, and we do a whole unit on film reviews.
Yeah.
So we watch one together and we practice on what a good movie review looks like. And then they got to vote like another movie we got to watch. And so we watched Dead Poet Society.
Gets you every time.
Every time.
Every time.
I've seen it at least 9 times.
The ending.
And I cry at the end. I know it's coming.
Oh,
Captain, my captain.
God, all right. So
Robin, this is for
you. Robin. Shout out to Robin Williams. God, he was so good. So let's talk about how did we meet, Chelsea? So actually, it's kind of blurry now. It's been
blurry for me too.
Almost 10 years. That's crazy to think about. Isn't that weird? So it's been almost a decade. So I was a freshman in college. I'm pretty sure Justine did track for like a hot second minute.
When it was a club.
Yep. My freshman year. And she ran, and then she was like, hey, like, you want to like grab a drink sometime? I don't know, like, or hang out. Because we like had some stuff in common. And I think either she was at the gym with me or we were at her room. Somewhere in there, I remember meeting you. I think it was at the gym the first time. It was a quick introduction, like, oh, this is my friend Chelsea. And then we like drank together one time. But like,
exactly. I think it was when I was still on the basketball. No, I wasn't on the basketball team anymore, but I was working out and you guys were running on the track.
Yeah.
When I was taking the track way out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
But I think you hung out with Justine a few times before I was really in on it.
Because you were good about being an RA that doesn't do any of that.
That's not true. I just didn't do it in front of you.
That's true. Well, I don't blame you because it's like, here's this freshman loser hanging out with Justine.
Yeah, I just did it with like my group of friends at the time.
Yeah.
Which I'd say by the time I started hanging out with you,
when did we actually start hanging out? Was it second semester?
I think it was towards the end of first.
End of first into second.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't remember. God, it's so hard to remember now how it all fell into twine. And then
because the only reason I can say this is the RA training winter break that year was when.
God, that's so crazy.
Was when, like right before I started dating Joe, and I'd already been hanging out with Matea and Justine before then.
Yeah.
And I think you were there once or twice. So I think it had started at that point.
Yeah. So I don't remember the exact how it all came together though. But then I remember, like, I think it was, we drank together one time. It was just, like, small. It was always a small thing. It was, like, me, you, Justine, and that was it. I'm pretty sure. Maybe, like...
Matea would be
maybe
there sometimes.
Matea would show up. But it was always, like, in Justine's room, a collective bunch. And, like, I remember one time, Justine had this wild idea that, like, we would mix all of some drinks together.
I don't remember that.
Do you remember?
No,
were you not there?
I don't think so.
I don't know. Well, anyways, one time we decided to she mixed a bunch of different drinks together. And it was like, I remember having a sip of it and it tasting like Moxie gone bad.
Ew.
It was disgusting. But we had that. But we had like
I definitely was not there.
It was always like, it was nice. It was always like a small like group of like literally like 4 of us, maybe 5.
And we really did nothing. We just sat
and listened to Panic at the Disco or Fall Out Boy.
And then maybe played a card game, but
nah.
I know we did Power Hour a couple times.
We did do a Power Hour. Oh my god, Justine was all about the Power Hour.
Power Hours are fun.
We're gonna do a Power Hour. Okay. Drink. And then we saw one of my favorite concerts of all time. We saw 21 Pilots, Panic at the Disco,
that was a good one,
and Fall Out Boy together.
Yep.
One of my favorite memories because that was just, I was in awe. It was one of the best concerts I've ever been to. Like, thinking about it now, like, all 3 of them are just big on their own. To see them all 3 collectively at one show for, like,
21 Pilots hadn't really even taken off either.
No.
It was maybe like 4 months before their first big radio
I think it was
hit.
like Holding On to You was like their big song at the time.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, at the time, Justine showed me a video and it had like 2 million views, not even. It maybe had like 1 million. It wasn't that big. And she was like, listen to this song. I was like, oh, these guys are pretty good. Like, all right. And then I remember seeing them live and they were insane. Like, they were intense. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. And that pretty much wrapped up freshman year. There were some pieces that came in and out of that group. And then, like, so then the second year, we all got to work together as RAs, which is crazy to think about. We all just set up I thought that was, like, the best, like, group of people. Like, legit, like...
It wasn't my favorite staff that I had. My first year staff was awesome, but it was a really good staff.
Like, all right, so, like...
My first year staff of people that you don't know, they all had graduated by that point. But it was a really good staff.
You guys were all, like... So we had RJ,
I guess
Matt,
the staff to you was what my staff was to me when I was a sophomore.
True.
Yeah.
But, like RJ was a blast. I love RJ.
I miss that guy.
RJ, I actually just reached out. We've been talking. RJ, yeah. I do like RJ.
Cool,
RJ, he was great. Justine, you, me, Alexa, D'Lo, Autumn, Matt Sank.
I forgot about Matt.
Oh, and Allie. I forgot about Allie.
And Allie.
Yeah, and Justine, like, it was a good crew. There was we had a lot of different personalities, now that I think about that.
But we blended really well together. We worked really well together.
Did we ever work together on duty? I don't vividly think like so. In my head, I'm like...
Because most nights that I had a partner, I was with RJ. Like, we specifically made sure that we were on together.
I think I was always with D'Lo. I feel like I was always with
I was either
Josh
with RJ or...
God, that's so wild.
I was on with D'Lo.
D'Lo was
I think I was mostly on with RJ.
Yeah.
Because I had been on with Justin the last 2 years. Wow. And we had an awesome system of... He would handle, like, the actual, like, give me your IDs hard stuff, because I don't like conflict.
Right.
And I would handle the emotional criers and all that stuff. So I think, like, that senior year, and RJ had been in REM for 2 years and had a good system and good partners. So at that point, we were like, yeah, we're going to make the schedule, and we're going to be on with each other all the time.
I gotta say, like, one of my favorite stories of that year is still, to this day, like, one of the grossest things I've ever seen on duty, and I think it's fair. This is one of the more cleaner, fair to say we can all talk about stories about being an RA. We've all seen our fair share, I think. But like this one night, it was in Copper. There was this piece of pizza that had been laying in the back stairwell of Copper 1, and it had been laying there all night. Like it just somebody dropped a piece of pizza.
No.
And it looked like there had been like one bite taken out of it. And I remember it was just laying there the whole night, and I'd been doing rounds all night, and I was kind of stuck in Copper 1. I forget who I was on duty with, but I was in 1, and the other person was in 2, and that was pretty much the rotation you always do on a Saturday night. And, like, I forget the event, but, like, somebody came back. I'm not going to say the person's name, but, like,
I know who the person is.
I'll tell you after, but, like, so,
I
like,
know who the person
this
is.
person is relatively a pretty well-known person, and also, I would say, pretty attractive, pretty put together for the most part. Or so I thought until that single moment. So, like, that pizza had been there all night.
It was the person I'm thinking of. They were all perpetually a hot mess all the time.
Oh, well, no. After that moment, I was like, wow, is that really? So, it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. We're, like, finishing up last rounds, and this person is hammered. Stands at the end of the hallway, looks at me, like, literally looks at me, picks up the pizza, looks at me in the eyes, and just looks at me. And bites out of it and ate it. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I was petrified. I was like, that's probably how the coronavirus all started. I'm just kidding. That's not funny. But that was insane. I mean, it's stuff like that you see, and you see people's true colors. And I'm like,
I remember,
wow.
I think, like, my big story
Wow.
was my junior year. So when I met you, spring weekend. And I was on duty with Justin, and we were walking around Cup, and there was a puke trail to the trash room.
Oh my God.
And so we investigate to see what's going on, and we have 2 people in the trash room. One is unconscious and is being held against, like, standing against the wall while his friend's, like, holding him by the head and, like, the chest. We come in, and we're like, hey, how's it going? And the friend's like, it's fine, leave, it's fine. Very uncomfortable that we're there. And we're like, no, So I'm trying to get the guy that's, like, unconscious against the wall to wake up and, like, hey, what's your name? Hello, are you okay? Like, kind of shaking his shoulder, not responding really. And then he finally does eventually, but he's not speaking any words at all. It's just, like, mumble slurs. And
I love that.
So, clearly on something, whether it's alcohol or drugs. And so I turned to Justin and I'm like, yo, like, we need to call an ambulance. Like, this kid needs to go to the hospital. There's something wrong with him. And his friend's like, no, don't call public safety, don't call the ambulance, no,
it's
like,
fine.
Freaking out.
It's fine.
And I'm like, dude, you're not gonna get in trouble, like, he needs an ambulance, like, we're not doing this to get you in trouble. And I was like, and I go to pull out the radio to call public safety, and I was like, I'm calling public safety. And his friend, he goes, F that, let's go, and runs out of the room because he doesn't want to get in trouble.
Yeah.
And thankfully, like, Justin, this kid would have went smack, like, face first smack into the floor, which was a tile floor.
Yeah.
And thank God Justin catches him and, like, kind of gets him, like, sitting and with his head up.
Wow.
And as the kid's leaving, and like, this kid's true colors came out, and neither of them went to our school. I don't even know where they were from.
Right.
But he was like, oh, by the way, he's on Molly, and runs out of the room. I guess so I'll tell the paramedics. And in that, like, moment of confusion and adrenaline, I confused Molly with bath salts. 2 very different things.
Oh my God.
But in my mind, I'm thinking, like, so Justin's holding this kid against the wall, and I'm like, oh my God. I go, Justin, he's on Molly. And he was like, what? Like, he's on Molly. And he goes, okay. And I was like, no, but Justin, like, you're holding him right now. You're really close to him. He's on Molly. And he's like, I heard you the first time. And so I'm, like, freaking out, thinking that
it's bath salts.
That he's going to rip Justin's face off. Like, I know the difference. It just, adrenaline just mixed it up. And so in comes Amanda, the RD, who doesn't know anything about drugs. And so I go, oh my gosh, man, he's on Molly. And she goes, oh, is that a bad one? I go, yeah.
Is that a bad one?
And I went, I think it's the one that they rip off someone's face. And she
Oh,
goes,
no.
oh no, so I'm freaking out. And so, like, the paramedics come, they get this kid in the ambulance, go away. He was fine. I ended up seeing him the next day on campus, like, also really messed up from whatever. Again, I'm like, wow, you have a really quick turnaround time, kid. He thought
after taking bath salts,
we asked like what his name was. He didn't know his name. We asked like where he was, and he was like, "I'm at UMass Amherst," and we're like, "No, that's 2 hours away,
buddy.
No." So, anyways, they take him away. Public safety's gone. Amanda's gone. Justin and I continue on our rounds, and I was like, Justin, like, you were so calm. I can't believe you weren't freaking out. And he goes, yeah, why were you freaking out about the fact that he's on Molly? It's not that big of a deal in that situation.
No.
And I go, Justin, I thought he was going to rip your face off. And he stops and, like, basically does a face palm and goes, you're talking about bath salts. And in that moment, I was like, you're right, I am talking about bath salts. So I felt like such a moron. But that was probably, I mean, I had other, like,
good life lesson.
Crazy nights. I remember my first year, this was bad. The seniors had come back from one of their socials on a bus. And apparently one of my residents had used the N-word. I don't know if it was true, but had said the N-word. And so you had a lot of, like, the people of color on the bus that heard it were trying to jump him. Oh, so it was half the football team was trying to jump this one kid who was also a football team player. And all of his football team roommates were trying to defend him. So I am panicking, sprinting around this quad, like, basically around campus, because I think a giant brawl is a race brawl is about to break out. So I was trying to get this kid to stay in his room and not come out. He was like, I don't care. I'm not a wuss. I'm going to fight them all. I'm like, no, you literally will
probably
die.
Shouldn't do that.
Don't do that. And I was like, did you say that? And he goes, no, I would never say that. I don't know why they're telling people I did. Thankfully, nothing happened, but that was a stressful night as well.
Do you think... if you were to do things differently, do you think that you would be an RA having gone through the experiences that you went through? And do you feel like being an RA comes with a little bit of, like, I don't want to say social suicide, but, like, comes with a little bit of a tainted reputation on campus? I think for our school, like, I think about Nichols, I liked being an RA to an extent of, like, it was good for, like, experience in life and to some extent connecting with people. But in other ways, like, you kind of are like a fun police in some extent. Some of the stuff that comes with it, wasn't a big fan of, I don't know if I would say politics of it, but, like, you know, at the end of the day, you go to class with these people, right? And I think to some extent, like, I would, but I wouldn't do it. I probably would do things differently now, knowing what I know now. But I also think when you're that young and you're doing it, like, there's a certain, I don't know, variables to it. So I'm curious to know, like, would you do it again? And would you say that it comes with a bit of a tarnished chip on your shoulder? Not to say chip on your shoulder, but is it harder at a small school when you are...
You have, like, a target on your back.
Yeah.
Honestly, I know you've talked a lot about how you feel about the whole thing before, and I think you and I had very different experiences. I think there was a shift in the department that happened my last year. And if I had had to continue as an RA there during your first, my last year, your first year, I probably would have done the same thing. I don't think I would have made it. I know a lot of people didn't make it all the way to the end, because there was a big shift in leadership and expectations. But I don't think I would change one single thing. It helped me pay. It was before they changed the pay stuff, so I had all room and board paid for, which was huge. I have never really been good at conflict. And there were some things that happened before college, like little things. Like, I remember one time in maybe it was 9th grade, my friends and I were just goofing around, and someone picked up a keychain ring, like, it was just by itself, jokingly said to another friend, hey, catch this in your mouth, and threw it, and they literally caught it in their mouth, and they started choking. And, like, people got up and moved, and, like, went and got her mom, and thankfully she was fine, and didn't even need the Heimlich, like, coughed it up. But I, like, literally sat there and froze. So I especially being a teacher, a lot of what I was taught as an RA has been so valuable as a teacher. Like, with the suicide training, I know what questions to ask, and I've had experiences with students who have been suicidal, and I've been able to monitor that, where some of my colleagues don't have those experiences. They don't know how to ask that question. Like, I remember we learned about passive ideation, which is just kind of like, you have the thought but you don't have a plan. And I used that phrase one time with a colleague that I was telling about the student that they were the next step to get them help. And I said, yeah, they're just in passive ideation right now. And they were like, what is that? So I think I was given a lot of skills that a lot of people in my field don't have, but it's been very valuable. I don't think it was social suicide for me, because sophomore year, I was playing on the basketball team, so I just hung out with all of the men and women's team. And then in addition, and I think this is where my experience differs from everybody else's, they were tired of putting seniors in senior buildings because
Right.
it was just friends hanging out, nothing was getting done.
Right.
So I was the first sophomore that they put in a senior dorm, and
Yeah.
it caused a lot of problems. Like I got the spring of my freshman year when we found out the placement. Like I got bullied by a lot of people that I didn't even know.
Right.
Because they
Because
were
you
mad.
don't belong,
I got
or-
copper, yeah.
Right.
And a senior who didn't get copper got like shammy or something, and they were really
Right.
upset and quit. So I was put in the best area, the area that needs the most equipped people for those situations. And my first year, most of them were very much like, I guess kind of like RJ and I were our senior year. They were athletes. They knew everybody. They just had to go in the room and say, really? And everybody respected them and stopped. So there wasn't that tension. I mean, of course you'd had that like with those one or two people,
Right.
as you always do.
Right.
But so I got to watch them in action, not be the try-hard RA that then burns all their bridges and everybody hates.
Right.
I got to watch them use their judgment of like, this is a situation that we need to act. This is a situation that we just say, come on, really?
Right.
And everyone goes, you're right, I'm sorry. So that carried over with me the next 2 years. And you know, some of my best friends, including you, I met through, well, I guess not through that, but
yeah.
our friendship developed
From
it.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think I'd change it. I think it's given me skills that I wouldn't have had otherwise. It paid for it pretty much paid for my college. And I never was, like, I know a lot of people had an issue with not being able to, I guess, party how they want to in fear of losing their job. I never was that kind of person anyways. So nothing was being taken away from me, like, in my mind. I wasn't
Right.
losing anything because
Right.
I wasn't doing that in the first place.
Right.
So I think my experience is different. I wouldn't
So
change
like
a thing.
the only thing.
But the shift started happening our last year. I was very frustrated our last year and ready to get out. But because
I guess for me, like, so I did it the year after you left.
Yeah.
And I always looked at it as, you know, I want people to have fun in a controlled environment.
Right.
Right. And things like, you know, I remember in like my last interview, because I did try to do it my senior year, or I wanted to, right? Because I always looked at it from an angle like I needed to do it because I needed to pay off for college.
I thought
right?
you just didn't do it senior year. I didn't know.
No, so I did. So I did end up applying, and I went through the interview process, and I got grilled in my last interview, like anybody else does. But like, or so I've heard, but like I was shocked at like the way they thought or saw me in my role as an RA. I was kind of shocked, and I guess maybe I took a sort of a back seat to, you know, I felt like, I don't know, they always were like, oh, there's a lot of potential here, and then like I never lived up to that, or like something to that effect, because I felt like they just didn't see me as like a true asset within them. And then when I got my placement of where I was located, I saw it as sort of a slap in the face, because I was like, wow, like, really? Like,
and it wasn't like you were me and you had copper your sophomore year and then you paid your dues.
Dude, I went to Olsen and then I went to Rem, and the last place they put me was Cup. And I was like, when I got Cup,
that's not the biggest slap in the face,
but it's not the worst. But like, it wasn't.
I
shouldn't take it as a slap in the face, but I was certainly a little disappointed in the questions they had asked me during the interview process. I was shocked, man. Like, I literally, like, I never thought I had bad blood or, you know, tarnished anybody in a bad way. You know, certainly the people, the RDs, I thought I had a pretty good relationship with most of them. I never spoke ill will of them. You know, sometimes we had some awkward relationships with some of them, but I think that just came with, like, sometimes you're not capable of working with certain people. You know, like, you think it might work, but it doesn't sometimes. And, you know, I kind of think I bumped the wrong way. And then when I got my last placement, like, I was just, like, shocked. And I decided that instead of being an RA, like, I wanted to have fun my senior year, like Justin did with his senior year. Do I regret it to some extent? Like, yeah, because I could have saved myself some money. But at the same token, like, the memories I made in that last year, like, you know, but then I think about, like, on the social aspect, I remember talking to Alexa a lot, and like we were different people from, I feel like, most RAs, in that, like, it was a balance. Like, we wanted to, I'm a people pleaser. I wanted to be friends with people and not, like, tarnish relationships. I don't feel like I had that same, and my class is a lot different from your class in that you guys were all, I would say, pretty close. Like, you guys were fun. Like, I liked your class a lot.
We were nice to each other, at least.
My class, I don't know how I'd really describe my class. I don't think I was really, like, with the in crowd, but I wouldn't say I was, like, outside of the realm. I don't know. Like, I just feel like I was just, I don't know where I stood in my class. My class is weird. I feel like my class is weird. I feel like a lot of people get mislabeled sometimes in a school like that, and I felt closer with different classes than my own class. So I felt closest with, like, your class, you know, hanging out with RJ.
I mean, you even used to come and hang out with my roommates all the time senior year.
Yeah, and, like, once you guys left, like, I kind of felt, like, out of place, out of mind. And then just, like, you know, things did change within that environment. But again, I guess I foresaw things going differently. And I guess from that perspective, again, I think I was seen as somebody that I was not from those people. And so it just kind of tarnished my experience and, like, my perspective of that whole thing. Do I regret? No, because, like you were saying, like, there are parts of it, like, I really connected with a lot of people on a different scale. Right. There's one person in particular, like, I shared a moment with somebody that, like, it was a situation that came up, and we didn't report it. It was me and Alexa, and, like, it was, like, this domestic dispute, like, hurry over, like, where, like, this girl's and this guy are fighting in this hallway, and it's, like, oh, God. Like, that's always, like, the big thing. When I always hear those, like, my adrenaline starts kicking in because you don't know what you're walking into, and they can be really intense. Because sadly, I think that's probably one of the more common things that always kind of came up, at least when I was on duty.
I think that was the thing I dealt with the least.
Really?
Was fights. But then again, you were in REM, which was so much more enclosed than any other
This
building.
was when I was in Area 3.
Oh, really?
Wow, I still remember Area 3.
Area 3?
So,
Area 3 to 86?
This was a situation in Cup, and it was,
I miss having to radio. It was fun to
It was this
radio.
girl and this guy who didn't go to the school, but this guy was just yelling at this girl about a situation, and I was like, this is not okay. Alexa got in, and then I got involved too, and I took the girl because she was just so mad. She was screaming, she was freaking out, and she ran outside, and I was like, okay, I'll go take care of the girl. Like, I want to see what's going on. If you just want to, you know, talk to this guy with public safety was there, and I talked to this girl, and, like, she was like, you don't understand, you don't get this, you don't get it, da 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 da, and this situation, like, it's crazy because when she eventually told me what it was about, I was like, such a small world, but, like, we share something that, like, emotionally and, like, mentally a lot of people don't understand. And so to share that moment where, like, two people have something so deep ingrained in them, it's so unlikely to happen to a lot of people, that two people have that moment, and then we're sitting there talking on the steps, having this moment about life and kind of understanding it. Like, it calmed her down, and it kind of brought me to a whole level of, like, coming full circle with something that, like, you're not everybody out there is alone in what they battle in. It's kind of crazy how small of a world it can be. But that was one of my favorite moments as being an RA. I still have a lot of respect for this individual. I don't even know if I don't follow her on anything. I don't, but, like, for me, like, that person holds a different spot in my, like, heart, because when I found out the situation and what she'd gone through and what that guy said, obviously I was a little upset, but I also came to a lot of respect and understanding who she is as a person and why she is. And I don't think I ever really spoke to her after that, but, like, for me, like, I don't know. Again, I feel like I have a spot for that person. And, like, for me, that was one of the reasons I truly loved being an RA, was that behind all that stuff at that school, like, you can be who you want to be at face level, but there's another layer to people at that school that, like, it's a special place for people who I think come from much deeper backgrounds. And I think a lot of people at that school, after connecting with that one girl, and then you start to, like, you know, I've reached out and been connecting with people now outside of, you know, post-college. It's crazy how much baggage people had at that school. Like, not baggage, but, like, have come from such, I don't know, like, tough backgrounds. And so it's kind of crazy that, you know, I think Nichols, you go there, like, wanting to be something that you want to forget in the past. Like, you want to be the better person now. And they do really, like, develop, I would say, people for stronger and better things in life. It's crazy. But, like, the connections you build from that school, it's kind of crazy. Like yourself, like Justine, like some of my closest friends, like we've all had our fair share, I would say, of crazy shit in life now to be where we are. And I think all of us are successful in a way that like we're happy in life.
Yeah.
So that makes me happy. But I think that would probably wrap things up because now I think it's kind of full circle. But thanks for being here, Chelsea. It was a great episode, and we should do it again sometime. Definitely. All right. See you guys later. Thanks for the deep talks. Peace.